Sis Grace,
Hi.
is everything fine?
Yeah, it's fine. Are you in? I can see you are in.
I'm in now. I was wondering, the meeting is quiet. Are we running a bit behind schedule?
No.
Yes, Sis Grace. Yes.
No.
Oh, we're on track, ne?
Yeah.
No, we're not really on track. The meeting
No,
was
we're
scheduled
not
for
on time because
16:30.
we've just finished. We're not even finished with the other meeting yet.
Okay.
Good afternoon, honorable members. I'm sorry, we've been complaining about these plenaries that take place in the morning, which used to be the time for the committees. I've raised this in the joint chairpersons and whips meeting together with the Honorable Chair Karim of the Finance Committee. Looks like it fell on deaf ears. Because what is also embarrassing is that we invite departments and we keep them waiting because these meetings do not really end. Because we had to now log out whilst the meeting was still on. Perhaps what I'll do, I will have to write to the chairperson of committees and raise this challenge that we always face. So I would like to really apologize, honorable members. I know we were also part of the meeting, and fortunately also locked out of the meeting. It's beyond our control now. Can we then get Grace the roll call?
Thank you, Chair. I think in the beginning I experienced problems. I tried to make Mr. Mkumane the co-host, but I clicked on host, so there was a little bit of a problem. At the moment, I see Mr. Moimang, Mr. Landsman, Mr. Lond, Ms. Boshoff, Ms. Matevula, Mr. Landsman. I didn't get time.
I'm on.
Yes, I've mentioned.
Welcome, Honorable Landsman.
Thank you,
And
Chair.
Mr. Moimang is in.
I'm definitely on. Thank you.
I think that's all for now.
No, Honorable Brataseth is also on.
Oh, okay.
Honorable Matebula is also on.
Yeah, I've mentioned your name.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all, Chair.
All right. Can someone then follow up on other members that are not logged in? Honorable Dango, Honorable Aplini. Oh, yeah, okay. Those two members, I think. Honorable Mamarakhane informed me that she's attending the Finance Committee, which was also supposed to have started at 4. I don't know if perhaps they then logged out, but she promised to rejoin as soon as the meeting finishes. From the department sides, can we get the indication?
Afternoon, Chair and honorable members. From the department, I understand that Minister is still delayed in the plenary, but she'll be joining us very soon. And then from my side, we have Mr. Maki, who's the DDG responsible for enterprise development. Have the two CEOs, CEO for SIFA, Mr. Machamba, CEO for SIVDA, Mr. Mbata, and then Executive Ntokozo from SITA, as well as Dumi. Sifolo, who's executive from SIFA, and then one colleague from strategy, Ms. Debo Hohlabiwa, who's the director strategy. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. We did receive a list of the attendees from the department, which include the minister. So
recording in progress.
Indicated that the minister will be joining us. I've made the mistake of saying that we must follow up on the other members without first checking whether there are any apologies for them. Can we get apologies of members? If there are any.
Thank you, Chair. At the moment, we have not received any apologies.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Perhaps let's then formally open the meeting. We're really opening it very late. We must also take this opportunity to express words of condolences to the family of KB Mapatsu, honorable member, was a member of the National Assembly, a member of Parliament, who we have been informed passed away this afternoon. He was a former Deputy Minister of Defense and Military Veterans. He was recently a whip of a portfolio committee on police. The governing party had reappointed or redeployed him to be the whip of a sports, arts and culture portfolio committee. I also would like to welcome Honorable Landsman, who was bereaved. We had expressed our condolences in the meetings that have passed. And also we having some of our staff who have contracted the COVID-19. So far, about 4 of them now. 2 are still currently recovering, Madia and Hanif. We also wish them a speedy recovery. Let's then ask the DG to take us through the presentation. We will welcome the minister as soon as she joins, but also she will also make the closing remarks on behalf of the department. Can you then take us through DG?
Thank you, Chair. Just apologies, I forgot to mention 2 colleagues who are here. There's Mr. Batandwa from Ministry, as well as Mr. Colin Leshow, who was part of the visit, especially in Gauteng, accompanying the committees during the oversight. Chair, I will project the presentation. Towards the end, Chair, I will request the CEO of SIFA to make some inputs, especially towards the update in terms of the applications, because we wanted to also update the committee utilizing the latest information. So on number 7 there on the presentation outline, the CEO will, so he will take over item 6 and item 7. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
The purpose of the presentation is to brief the committee on the impact of recent looting and unrest, as well as the initiatives that have been developed by the portfolio, which is our sales department, as well as the 2 agencies, SITA and SIFA. We understand that the SMMEs, both in the formal as well as the informal sector, especially from the 2 provinces, were affected by these recent looting and riots. And we know that across all sectors, SMMEs were affected. That's why you'll see that in our interventions, we are not specific in terms of supporting only certain sectors, but we are supporting all SMMEs that were affected by the recent looting and damage. Most of them, they lost their goods, others lost equipment, machinery. We also looking at the fact that this infrastructure was destroyed, but on that front, DTIC is coming in, especially to assist with infrastructure support. Our resources are a little bit limited, so our focus is on supporting businesses with stock, as well as machinery and equipment. There was also disruptions in terms of supply chains, especially in certain areas where the stock could not reach. We saw the disruptions around N3. Some of the informal businesses in particular, they could not operate because their stock was not available. They could not go and get what they sell on the streets. This we know that will result definitely in increased poverty, unemployment, decrease in the growth of the GDP. Okay, we thought we should also bring this slide which talks to the fact that even before COVID hit us, we were already experiencing low economic growth rates, high unemployment, poverty, and inequality. And then when we introduced hard lockdown, it also made the bad situation worse. Most businesses were restricted, which were the necessary interventions that were introduced to manage the pandemic. The prohibitions in sit-down meals, tourism suffered and still suffering. Cross-cutting limits in terms of the occupancy of floor space. This is just to indicate that all these things, even though they were necessary interventions, but they made the bad situation worse. And then we also had challenges with these protests where people ransacked malls and shopping centers, destroyed property. There were restrictions in terms of mobility because people couldn't go anywhere. Especially this affected our SMMEs. Those who don't have insurance were the most affected because it is difficult for them to simply replace what has been looted. There are estimations already in terms of number of jobs that have been lost. We know that there are quite a number of people who are in the streets who are no longer working because of this destruction. The implications there's more need now for social security, which is putting more pressure on our already strained fiscus. Compounded health problems, we know that there were disruptions in terms of the vaccine rollout. There is also a delay now in the economic recovery. I think especially early this year, we started getting those positive news, especially from Stats SA, even the IMF, the Reserve Bank, they started to give us some positive news that our economy is recovering. But now all this, the destruction has really set us back in terms of GDP recovery and job creation. According to the information that we have, that we received from South African Property Owners Association, as well as Business Leadership South Africa, we experienced 1.5 billion loss in stock, damage to the tune of 15 billion on property and equipment. More than 800 retail stores were looted and 100 were completely burnt. This has impacted negatively on about 50,000 informal businesses, as well as 40,000 businesses. To date, 150,000 jobs are reported to be at risk. Then this necessitated us to introduce various informal and various instruments for informal as well as informal businesses to accelerate business and economic recovery with a view to cap job losses as well as business closure. The first program that we have is this business recovery support, which is aimed at supporting formal businesses. We are mainly targeting those that are based in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng. We're not saying we're closing out other provinces. We know that there were some disruptions in provinces like Mpumalanga. We are going for those who are uninsured. We will be supporting them with working capital, which includes stock, equipment, furniture, as well as fittings, because we know that in some buildings, people went inside, they destroyed. After taking the stock, they even destroyed the fittings in the shops. We are saying Chair, we also accommodating those SMMEs that have existing funding facilities from other lenders, because we know that if we don't support them, they will not be able to pay these other lenders that they have, and that will worsen the situation they are already in. This is the support we are offering, Chair. It's blended finance, which is a combination of a grant, which is 60%, and a loan of 40%. And we always try and explain this, Chair, in simple terms, because others, they come and ask us, why are we still charging 5% in terms of the loan component? We still show that the money that we are advancing to SMMEs is still cheaper than those who are charging 0%. So if you come to us, you ask for a maximum loan of 2 million, it means you'll only pay back 840,000. But if you go to someone who will give you 2 million at 0%, you'll still pay back 2 million. You'll still be indebted to the tune of 2 million. So our understanding, because this is our mandate in terms of supporting SMMEs, especially coming up with the funding policy, we have learned some lessons which we are applying now, that we need to balance in terms of gearing and make sure that we do provide some sort of a grant in terms of the money that we advance to our SMMEs. So that's why we put this combination of a 60% grant as well as a 40% loan, because they still need to pay back the money and get into that culture of making sure that they pay whatever government advances them, so that we can fund more SMMEs. So we are balancing both the issue of addressing the crisis, but also instilling this culture of small businesses, knowing that they still have a responsibility of paying back whatever they've borrowed from government. There is an initial payment moratorium of up to maximum of 12 months. And we are saying it's up to, because some of these SMMEs will be able to pay quicker. So it depends. We look at an individual case, we look at your cash flow. If you can afford to pay back sooner, you'll be allowed to pay back sooner. The repayment period is of a maximum of 60 months, so that we don't ask you to pay a lot of money. So we stretched it across a period of 60 months rather than 20 months or less than that. In terms of non-financial support, so we are not just throwing money at the people who need it, but we're also offering pre-investment support to assist these small businesses with the packaging of the applications, just to make their lives easier. We also offer post-investment support, because we still need to go back and monitor and see whether the money that we've advanced to these small businesses is making an impact. Is it assisting them to recover? Is it also assisting them to grow as SMMEs? So we offer both pre and post, just to monitor and make sure that this investment by government bears results. Chair, this is the criteria that we've watered down just to make it easier for SMMEs. Obviously, you will need to know whether your business was affected by unrest. That's why we're asking for an SAPS case number. It must be registered, obviously, for formal businesses, 100% owned by South Africans, have been in operation as of 30 June, be registered and compliant with SARS. And then the other key issue, Chair, is for us to get these businesses registered on an SMME database, because we need, as a country, to have a credible SMME database to know where SMMEs are located, what kind of business they are doing, in what sectors they are in, are they growing over time? So we insist that they register on SMME SA database. Preference obviously will be given to businesses in KZN and Gauteng. And then an affidavit to just avoid double dipping. We need to get an affidavit that the business is not insured. Informal businesses are excluded from this because they have a separate package that is targeting informal businesses. These are other additional documentation which obviously formal businesses should have in terms of FICA documents, so that we know where you are, ID copies, bank statement, latest annual financial statements with 3-year cash flow projections. And on these 3-year cash flow projections, we also assist SMMEs through CEDA to come up with these cash flow projections. So we are not just leaving them without any support. Facility statements of other funders, if you have other facilities, quotations for applied funding, so that we can also check whether what you are asking for is reasonably priced. Detailed breakdown on application of funds so that we can know where exactly are you going to be investing these resources from government. And then the process, this is the process where we have the BRP, the email brp@sifa.org.za. We do have a hotline here where we have around about 20 agents so that people don't get delayed, they don't get to wait in the queue for someone to answer the line on the other side. So we have 20 agents who are waiting to support SMEs and provide clarity when necessary. We review these applications and then after that we do due diligence exercise, and then it's subsequently submitted to SIFA for approval. But those who have incomplete applications, we do encourage them to still submit so that we can also provide through the network all over the country of SIDA offices so that people can be able to fill in the application forms, and SIDA will provide that support to make sure that they are able to provide completed application forms. Those that require non-financial support, we refer them to our small enterprise development agency to support them with whatever they need. We have a budget that is 300 million, targeting, our estimates is 150 small businesses, predominantly in those provinces, which is KZN and Gauteng. Then we do have a separate team, Chair, that talks to informal traders support, because we understand that they do have their own needs as informal businesses. We do provide financial as well as non-financial support, because we know that some of these informal businesses, they still need to be assisted to grow. So this investment, we take it as an investment in these businesses, but they must also be linked to our program of business development support that we offer through SIDA, because still we are investing government resources. So it should be people who are willing to be known, who are willing to be supported to grow, because we believe that informal businesses can also assist us in creating jobs and addressing the challenges that we are facing as a country. We offer a once-off, which is a 100% grant of 3,000 just to assist them to refill or to get more stock in place. So for them, we make it easier. There is no loan component on the informal business scheme. The criteria is very simple. It must be South African, and you must produce a valid South African ID. You must have a bank account, but if you don't have, we'll assist you to open one. We have discussed or engaged with a number of businesses who are willing to support these informal businesses to open accounts that are reasonable. So we don't want to be involved in any money laundering. So that's why we expect businesses, whatever support we provide, should be done through a bank. No minimum turnover is required for vendors. You must be willing to participate. I think I've explained this earlier in our business development support. Preferences will be given to businesses that are owned by women, youth, and people with disabilities. And informal businesses who are applying, they are not expected to be registered with CIPC as well as SARS because of their size and status of operation. This is the same process that we have, or similar process, but here we have engaged with quite a number of banks. So far, it's Nedbank that has come on board to assist us in rolling out the scheme so that it can also be accessible to informal businesses, as Nedbank is all over the country. So they do provide this support. We still have discussions with others, which we hope they will also come on board. But Nedbank has been willing to support us, and they are not charging us for this support that they are providing, which assists us to make sure that the money that we are investing goes straight to SMMEs or to informal businesses rather than it going to project management or whatever other activities that other banks will normally charge us. SIDA will provide post-funding support when necessary. We are also, Chair, using this opportunity to work closely with the informal traders associations, because we have them all over the country. They exist, but they must also be able to support their members with the packaging of these applications to make the process easier for us as a department. Chair, just to add, in terms of the relief measures that we've introduced, especially targeting informal businesses where we are implementing a moratorium on permits and business licenses requirements, but focusing on the fees. So we are not suspending the issue of the permits and licenses, but we suspended the fees up until 31 December 2022, because this assists us in reducing the cost of doing business for the period covered by the moratorium. Especially, we know that given the information that we've received from Stats SA with the recent stats that they've released, it shows us that most people who have lost jobs, they go to start informal businesses. You'll see that there is an increase in terms of the number of people who are starting informal businesses. So we introduced this moratorium, fee moratorium for this period to assist those who are moving from formal employment to starting their informal business, to make it easier for them. And because we know that other municipalities, they charge very high amounts. Which becomes a barrier to entry for our guys who want to start informal business. We believe that this will assist because they will utilize this money to acquire stock. We are encouraging, but we are still encouraging, Chair, these informal businesses to comply with the Businesses Act. It also reduces the cost of finance or borrowing for SMEs and cooperatives. Then we have, I think I indicated this one earlier, that we increase the grant component in our interventions just to make sure that our SMEs are able to afford financial support that they receive from government. Chair, as I indicated earlier, I'll request the CEO of CIFA to just take the 2 slides where he'll be giving us an update in terms of both CIFA funded clients as well as the new applications that we've received so far on the business recovery support.
Thank you, DG. Through you, Chair. If I may be allowed to share the updated slide, DG. If you can stand down, thank you, DG. Can I be given the rights to share, Secretariat?
Yes, it's Grace.
Okay, Chair.
Okay.
It's Mxolisi Machamba.
Yes, I was talking to Sis Grace to give you the rights.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Chair, I'm alerting her so that she knows.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
I've given you the rights, Mr. Machamba.
Host disabled participant screen sharing. It keeps on giving me that message, ma'am.
Okay, I'll try again. Try again.
All right, thank you. Is it visible, Sis Grace?
Yes, it
Thank
is
you.
visible.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, honorable members. This is the latest stats for the applications that we've received since as at today. We're just going to be actually tabling the clients that are funded by CIFA who were affected by the riots, and then also share with the committee the new applications that we've received and those that we are processing currently. The number of clients that are funded by CIFA that are sitting in our book in Gauteng, there were 6 in total. And the sectors were in the food retail space, 4 of them, and 2 fuel stations. All the 6 clients, luckily, were insured. And the total exposure from our side is 12.8 million. In KwaZulu-Natal, we had 5 companies. 1 of them was an eye care company, and 4 of them were restaurants. Also, those 5 were actually insured, and the total exposure is 2 million. The total number of companies that are funded by CIFA 11.
Sorry, CEO.
Yes, Chair.
I don't know if you, because I see that you're still on the cover page of your slides. We don't see what you're talking about.
Okay, that's strange. Let me do this, Chair. The contents, Chair, are they visible?
No. Maybe go to slideshow.
It is on slideshow. I don't know why it's doing this. Let me see. Apologies, Chair. Let me just escape.
Does the DG have the copy? Oh yeah, we can see it now, the contents.
Okay, Chair, I got out of slideshow. I don't know whether it's visible now. This
yeah,
format.
It's visible now, yes.
Yes, let me rather increase the size.
Okay.
That's too much. As I was saying, Chair, the total number of clients in Gauteng are 6. And those are the clients that are funded by SIFA directly. And 4 of them are the retail space and 2 of them are in the fuel space service stations. And the 6 companies, as I stated earlier on, Chair, and honorable members, are insured. The total SIFA exposure is 12.8 million. In KwaZulu-Natal, there are 5 SIFA funded clients. One of them was in the eye care space, and 4 of them were restaurants. All the 5 clients also in KZN are insured, and the total SIFA exposure is approximately 2 million. In total, our clients that were affected in both provinces were 11, and the total exposure for SIFA is 14.9 million. We've given them a 6-month moratorium payment check to allow them breathing space as well as they're busy processing the insurance claims. Also, Pick n Pay has come on board and it's offered its franchisees loans to procure stock to allow them to go back to trading whilst they're still waiting for the insurance to settle. Now, Chair, let me make this bigger. These are the numbers, Chairperson and honorable members, of clients who have applied to date as at today. The total number of applications that we've received in KZN are 94. In Gauteng South, which covers also the East Range, there are 44. Gauteng North, which covers also Pretoria, there are 54 clients. In total, we've got 192 clients who have applied, Chair. The total value of applications received, the value in KwaZulu-Natal of applications received is 71 million. In Gauteng South is 42 million, and Gauteng North is 55 million. In total, the value of applications of the 192 applications is 168 million, honorable members. And the total number of applications that are being processed are 15 in KwaZulu-Natal, 7 in Gauteng South, and 8 in Gauteng North. In total, there are 30 out of the 192 that are being processed. I'll come back, Chair, later to explain why those numbers are less. And the total value of applications being processed, the 15 applications from KZN are equal to 67 million. And those from South Gauteng, they are 6.8 million, the 7. And the 8 from Gauteng North, they are actually up to 7.4 million. In total, the applications that are being processed are 82 million. The projected approval dates, Chair, is the 3rd of September, which is this coming Friday, for the ones that are being actually processed. And the total number of applications that have been approved are 7 in KwaZulu-Natal, 2 in South Gauteng, 1 in North Gauteng, and there are 10 in total nationally. The total value of applications that have been approved in KwaZulu-Natal is 8.8 million, Gauteng South 1.1 million, Gauteng North 300,000, in total is 10.2 million, Chair, and the number of the value of applications that have been approved. Chair, the reason why there's a huge gap between the applications that have been received the applications that are being processed and the applications that have been approved. The reason is simply because, Chair, these applications are incomplete. And what we do as CIFA, we assist them to complete the applications, or some we refer them back to CEDA to get further assistance in completing these application forms. Because of the initial deadline, Chair, of today, that we anticipated that we're going to actually close the applications today, we encouraged applicants at the time to forward the applications, even if they're incomplete, to ensure that they're in the system. And then we said, once they're internal, we're going to work with them to finalize all these outstanding issues. That's why then, Chairperson, you will see that the number of applications is far higher than the number of approvals. But in due time, Chair, what we're going to see is that the approvals and the disbursements are going to escalate as the applications are actually getting what we call completed by the applicants. The minister also extended the closing date for applications from today to the end of September 2021. We wanted here, Chair, to allow those who are still struggling to complete these applications. I know, for example, we were approached by about 120 doctors and pharmacists who were affected by these riots. We were struggling actually in completing the applications, and we said, no, bring them forward, and we'll assist you in completing the applications. So, Chair and honorable members will be seeing an increase in these numbers as time goes on and as our people get to understand the requirements, because these are just basic requirements, and some of them, for example, will not have the tax clearances. Some do not even have the financial statements to allow us to do the proper projections. And some of them were ridiculous in their requirements for funding. You find that a business was generating 100,000 per month. Now, all of a sudden, the projections are talking about 600,000 post the funding. And you say, no, let's rework these numbers and try to be as realistic as possible. That, Chair, is the current status of the applications as of today. Thank you, Chairperson and honorable members.
Yeah, I think there's a mistake there on that slide there, Mr. Macham. It says 30 September, August 2021.
Oh,
I think we should delete August.
Yes, Chair. Yes, we'll do that. Chair.
All right. I think maybe the slide should also be forwarded to the committee secretary so that the members could have this additional information. DJ, I don't know if you want to conclude, or you're done?
No, Chair, from my side, I'm done. Thanks.
Okay, no, thank you very much. I've seen that the minister has logged in. I will take this opportunity to welcome the minister. If you can take the presentation down, thank you very much. Before members could ask questions, I'll allow the minister, because I was going to do that at the beginning of the meeting, if she could also make remarks as we welcome her to this committee, and also hope that we'll work together for as long as she is the minister of this committee. She doesn't get reshuffled before the end of the term. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you so much, Comrade Chair, and greetings to all the comrades in the platform. Comrade Chair, let me take this opportunity to thank yourselves for affording us an opportunity to come and make this presentation. As the DG and the CE have explained, Chair, mine is just to appeal to all members of the study group to help us spread the message.
Or it's a select committee.
What did I say? Oh, yes. My apologies, Chair. My apologies, Chair.
Okay.
The members of the select committee to help us spread the message in terms of the interventions that we are trying to make towards the small businesses that we are responsible for. As the CE made a presentation again, Chair, you will take note that there has been delays in terms of rolling out the funds. And all that is because of the reluctance from the constituency that we are servicing in terms of them uptaking the loans that are provided, which is something that we all agree that let's go radical on awareness to educate our people about the differences between the services that we're offering and other stakeholders are offering. And in this context, explain properly the blended financing solutions that we are providing, 60% on grants, 40% on loan, and therefore the criterion, which is always a challenge, Comrade Chair, that most people do want to have access, but they complain about red tape. And as well, where people are really trying to avoid anything that makes them to fill in the forms. And we want to urge the members here to help us in emphasizing the need to be compliant, because these are state resources, and therefore we should be able to account for them, and there should be clear recording of the work that has been done, the assessment and everything, to really prove that we're not taking this money and give it to our friends and boyfriends, but this is the money that went to the deserving and qualifying our service providers. So this is just one plea that I would like to make. And of course, Chairperson, we will come and present to the select committee in terms of the broader other interventions that we ought to introduce, not only on the 2 provinces that we're talking about, once we've finalized all the internal and other critical stakeholders engagements. Thank you so much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We will also invite you towards the end, after the questions and responses, to make your closing remarks. Thank you very much. Honorable members, can we then ask questions? Can we have Honorable Lont, Honorable Brenda Mativula, Honorable Boshoff? Are there any other hands? Honorable Kenny Muimang, in that order, please.
I'm covered, Chair.
Oh, Honorable, okay, that's fine. Let's start with Honorable Lont.
Thank you, Chairperson. The last bit that the Minister spoke about, and that's the one that I actually want to just touch on to start off with, is that this is taxpayers' money that we use. Yes.
Can I ask you to switch off your video? Yeah, because your bandwidth is low.
Okay, let's.
All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, apologies for that. So I want to start the last point, what the Minister said, that this is taxpayers' money and it needs to be used responsibly. And my one concern that I've got, it's all good and well that we do assist SMMEs who got affected through this looting, but it also means that this money must come from elsewhere. And I want to find out if there's an indication, especially anything that falls under the broader select committee, of where we are tapping into finances to channel it to assist here, so that we are also just aware that we need to have a look out if there's now a shortage of funding in other areas. I see there was an indication on the slide, I think it was slide 4, giving the turnaround and how it gets evaluated and by when the payments will happen. Unfortunately, this has now been several weeks that since we've had this problem, and these businesses sit without income, they have staff, they've got families that they need to look after. And I just want to find out, is there any measurements in place to ensure that when there's a further delay, that there's actually people being held accountable for that, because it's people's lives that we are working with. And then there's the percentage of incomplete applications. It's quite high. I think I saw it's only about 10, just under 11 million of applications up to the value of just under 170 million. So that's a very, very low percentage that is now at a stage where it can be paid out. And is there possibility to give us an indication of what's the extent of the problem? Some of the examples were given, but is the majority of it 15, 20, 50% complete, 80% complete? And is it the same problems with the applications? Is it just red tape that's built in that we can maybe take out and assist? Or is it, what's the extent and where's the problem? Because that's a very, very high percentage that's not being sorted out. And the next question is kind of contrary with the first two marks that I make, but it's something that bothers me. Is there also a judgment made at some stage that we are not throwing our finite resources after bad investments? There are businesses that are not performing, and if you look at their financial statements, they might not have performed for a number of years. And this is now basically an out where you give money to support already a business that was going down, instead of businesses that actually flourished and employed people and had the scope for growth. So that last one might be a bit more controversial, but it is important that if you've got finite resources, you need to use that where it will make maximum impact and ensure that we actually address the broader problem of the unemployment we're facing, and we're actually supporting businesses that has the potential and growing footprint to lift more people out of their circumstances. Those are those for now. Thanks.
I take it that you've done Honorable Lont. You just went quiet.
Sorry, I did say those were those for now, Chair. I apologize for the network.
All right. No, thanks very much. Honorable Matevula.
Thank you very much, Chair. My first question will be whether the department has made an effort to track down those small businesses who didn't have insurance to come forward and assist them, especially in Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal, where we have seen the unrest. The second one will be whether the department have made an effort to assist street hawkers who lost their income due to this unrest in Gauteng, especially in a pen mall in Alexander. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Matevula. I will ask members who don't have challenges with their networks or bandwidth if they can switch on their videos. This is broadcast on the social media platforms. Honorable Boshoff, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Good afternoon, Minister, and congratulations on your new position. Let's hope we have an amicable relationship. I would like to know, I see there's nothing about payments to businesses that suffered in Mpumalanga. If we could be given an indication of how many businesses were affected and how many jobs are most probably going to be lost because of these businesses that experienced the riots and the attacks upon them. And then I'd like to know as well, what is the department going to do with businesses that are not 100% owned by South Africans? There are many businesses in South Africa that are owned by foreign nationals, and they also employ our South Africans. And we cannot leave them to their own devices, because these people that are working for them also have families that they have to look after. And yes, Chair, that's fine. The other question was asked by Honourable Lont. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Boshoff. Honourable Moima.
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me also welcome the Minister and also express appreciation on new deployment, and looking forward to have a fruitful engagement with the Minister. Chair, the first point that I want to bring to the attention of the meeting is the oversight visit that we embarked upon. I'm mindful of the fact that the report must still be processed, both at the level of the committee and also the House. But I think it will be quite important for the expectations that we created during the visit when we engage with the victims of the looting to be met, such that we are able to instill confidence in the work of Parliament, and therefore, given the fact that in most of the areas that we visited, we had the representative of the department and SIDA, that as a committee, we pay attention in terms of the intervention that is possible around all those areas that we visited. Of course, we're not trying to create a differentiated approach in terms of those that were visited and those that were not visited, but I believe that it is in the interest of the committee and also in the interest of Parliament that it is seen in the eyes of the people to be responsive to their needs, such that I would therefore make a humble appeal that with the report that will be adopted, it be forwarded to the Minister with a view to ensure there is a proper focus, so that in our next visit, at least there is a sense that there is an intervention that emerged out of our oversight work. That is the first point, Chair. The second one relates to the lack of clarification from the presentation in terms of their posture with regard to foreign nationals whose businesses were affected. Obviously, there will be those that have papers, and the assumption is that most of those that are operating have relevant papers, and therefore responding to an issue that was raised in Orange Farm when we engaged with those informal traders, that matter arose. So it will be important to get a sense from the presentation as to whether is there any measures or instrument that is able to accommodate, so that at least there is a clarity of position in terms of what is the intervention that the department can render with regard to that area of looted malls owned by foreign nationals. The third point, Chair, that I want to raise is the issue of a point that was raised during our visit, particularly around the threshold that was raised of 2 million. I think it was raised by SIDA, if I'm not mistaken, or small business designate, such that the concern that was expressed from his side was that it is important that we do not create hype or much more expectation that we might not be able to meet. So therefore, I think it is important that probably from this meeting we get a sense as to whether is there a room to accommodate areas where the damage caused to the a small business might be more than the threshold. And then the fourth one that I want to bounce on the teams, what is their relationship with SASRIA? Is there a way in which they are interacting with the insurance company? Of course, I'm mindful of the presentation right at the beginning of us indicated that they are focusing on uninsured business. But I think it will be important just to get a sense from that angle as to whether is there a way in which they are relating with SASRIA. Let me pause there, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Maima. Honorable Ambassador Dango.
Chairperson, sorry for joining late. I had some challenges joining.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, no, that's fine. Are there any other questions? Can members please, those who have already spoken, if they could lower their hands? Unless they want to have another bite. Honorable Matevula, you have a follow-up question? You're still there? Okay, if there are no other members, I also have a couple of questions. I'm afraid I've got a long list of questions. I thought that members would touch, there are some that have been touched by members. The first one would be just to get an indication if the department and the entities have a data of the insured SMMEs and the uninsured SMMEs, not only those that are supported by CEDA and CIFA, but generally the SMMEs, particularly those that are affected by the unrest in KZN and Gauteng. The next question is which, because we know that the amount, I think, of 300 million is as a result of a reprioritization of the budget of the department, and also it must be having an impact on the targets and indicators. So we want to check which programs of the department and of the entities that have been affected in terms of the reprioritization. But also another question relates to, we're talking about 300 million. If you assume that all the businesses would apply for 2 million, that would mean about 150 businesses would get the 2 million, but yet you're talking about thousands of or hundreds of businesses that have been affected. I think there's a slide that talk about 800 SMMEs that have been affected in terms of the looting and the destruction of property, but also there are about 40 or 50,000 businesses that have been affected as a result of these 800 retail stores that have been affected. About 100 have been completely banned. So I just want to check if therefore this 300 million will be enough, and if not enough, what is going to happen. But also the former Minister of Finance announced the 1.3 billion. I just want to check if the department and the entities, do they have any slice from that 1.3 billion that was announced by Treasury? The DG also spoke about, and also the minister, the 60-40, 60 being 40 being the loan and 60 being the grant. Then the DG also spoke about the businesses that might get the 60% grant, but at a later stage, they get paid by the insurance, and therefore that 60% will be converted into a loan. So what I want to check, will that loan then be at 5%? Because ordinarily, the 5% will be on 40, which will be a loan. But now if you convert the 60, the person has got the 40% as a loan and the 60 as a grant, but later on get the payout, and then you convert the 60% into a loan, meaning that the person will have to pay 100%. That means a 2 million at 5%. If you can just clarify that aspect for me. Members have touched on this issue of foreign-owned businesses these measures or packages only apply to 100% South African-owned businesses. We asked this same question when we met with DTIC last week. They came from this angle, but when we were asking questions, then they kind of like reversed and say, no, they're not saying it should be 100% owned, because we raise this aspect of some of these businesses employ, in fact, 100%, some of them employ South African. They may be owned by foreign nationals, but they are employing, say, 100 plus, percent South Africans. Now, if they're not supported, people that will be suffering will be the workers of South Africa. I know Honorable Boshoff and Honorable Moimang also raises, but I'm also adding to that. DTIC said as long as they are registered with CIPC and they pay tax, they will be assisted. So I just want to check if there's a consistency or synergy between what the DTIC and the DSB are doing with regard to how they intervene and assist in terms of the packages that they are providing to this. There's also an issue with regard to the business permits and business licenses. I just want to check if the department is monitoring the municipalities, because there are complaints from some, particularly the informal traders, that some of the municipalities are not complying with this issue of the business permits and the business licenses, that they should be operating without being asked to provide this. I want to check if there is any monitoring from the side of the department to ensure that there's a consistency amongst the municipality. They are all doing the same thing. But the other issue I wanted to check, I see what the department and the entities are doing in terms of these packages for both the SMMEs and the informal traders. I haven't had the role played by, in particular, the two provinces in terms of assistance and how they are collaborating with the department in terms of the assistance, as well as the municipalities that have been affected, whether they are doing anything, and over and above that, the role of the private sector, whether there is any partnership between government and the private sector in terms of assisting. But what is also crucial is the president last year announced amongst the other measures that were part of the 500 billion, the issue of 200 billion with regard to the guaranteed loan scheme. Just want to check to what extent is this scheme assisting particularly the two provinces. This has to do with the fact that this 300 million may not be enough, and therefore there should be a role played by the provinces, the local government, the private sector, and also the banks. I know with regard to the informal traders, the role of a net bank, but I'm referring particularly to the guaranteed bank loan scheme. Yeah. Then the last point would be on those. The CEO Machamba indicated that there are businesses that are supported by CIFA. He mentioned 11. Is this 11 the ones that you are aware of, or there are others that you are not aware of that may come up and ask for assistance? I'm happy that, because I had a question in terms of deferment, but you addressed that in the slide, the issue of the 6 months. Yeah, whilst they're waiting for insurance payout. Because I was going to check whether there are any bridging finances to deal with the cash flow challenges until Sasria payouts are made. But also, I see that there's an extension of the period to 30th of September, which we also welcome. But with regard to whether businesses are aware of these packages of the department, because when we met with the DTIC last week, together with the IDC and the National Empowering Fund, they indicated that to address this issue of communication so that the businesses are become aware of the assistance from government. They have their staff on the ground. I want to check if the department, CIDA, and CIFA are also doing the same. Are they having their people on the ground to make the businesses that need assistance to be aware of these intervention measures? The last point that I pick up from the DTIC presentation, let me just read it as I wrote it down. It says, informal businesses linked to the ecosystem of larger businesses. And then it says, Department of Small Business Development, commanded. So with regard to the SMMEs or the informal businesses, they say it is a core mandate of the Department of Small Business Development. But they say, but the TIC is looking at ways to assist. So I want to check whether there is any, therefore, collaboration between DTIC and the Department of Small Business Development, so that you follow up on this issue that is raised by the DTIC, that they would like to assist. They are still deciding on the ways on how to assist the informal businesses. So that, because when we look at the money that is set aside for intervention, you're talking about billions on the side of DTIC together with these entities, IDC and NEF. But then I think the 300 million it will not be enough. Therefore, you will have to need assistance from DTIC and its entities. So I therefore want to check if are there any interactions or meetings to ensure that there is also assistance provided by DTIC and its entities. Yeah, thank you very much. I don't know, I'll get an indication from you, Honorable Minister, if you want to go first or you want to ask the DG and the entities to respond, and then you also be the last. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you so much, Chair. Let me just have the first bite and then hand over to them for all the details.
Okay.
The first question, Honorable Chair, that you also repeated, where is this money coming from? Because you are aware that we are reprioritizing, and therefore what's going to be the impact from where we are taking it from. This is the money that was allocated for the Business Viability Program that is run by the department through its agencies. And what happened is that it was moving too slow, Chair, therefore there were unspent funds. And therefore this is the money that the department said, if we have these monies, instead of them being taken back to Treasury and everywhere else, let's make sure that we go where there's a need for them to be spent. So that's where the money is coming from. But we are continuing with the Business Viability Program for those businesses that were there. The program is still ongoing. It has even improved on the pace that was there. That's one thing. On the issue of this, the department trying to reach out to the SMMEs, those that insured and those that are non-insured and others that are in the areas. The department has tried to go out, working together with the Department of Labor and Employment. They've visited both KZN and Gauteng, to make sure that they unpack the packages that we have. On the issue of the foreign-owned businesses, are we supporting? From our side as the SBD, we are not supporting foreign-owned businesses, but DTIC does. So the work that we do seeks to complement each other by saying these are the elements or the components that we're going to be looking at, and therefore you come and add where you need to add to. The criterion has been eased. It's not about red tapes, but there are things we can't compromise on. Hence, I stated earlier that there are things that we need to comply with, because at the end of the day, these are states' money that needs to be spent accordingly. For example, you can't remove away the bank accounts because we need to know where did the money go to. Those things are very important because there's the FICA and everything that goes with it. So those are basic things. Even on the informal traders where we say you don't have to be registered, but at least there should be proof that you're operating business, so that tomorrow when AG and everybody else has a question, we're able to justify why we had to fund Boshoff wherever she is, because indeed she was qualifying because these are the services, and therefore based on our assessment and looking into her application, indeed she met the criterion. So it's important that that paper trail is followed and all of that. In relation to the malls that are there in terms of the infrastructure that was destroyed, the DTIC is the one that is funding on those. So they are being looked at. All they have to do is to comply with what the DTIC has then outlined. Again, Chairperson, on the issue of the number of businesses that were affected and the number of jobs that are also affected, it talks to about 150,000 jobs that were reported. And this is stats according to the South African Property Owners Association, SAPOA, and BLSA. They give us the figures that the damage was up to 1.5 billion, was up to 15 billion rands, and 1.5 was on stock that was lost. So in terms of the retail shops, they were saying more than 800 retail shops were looted, and of course 50,000 informal traders and 40,000 businesses were affected. So the jobs are about 150,000. The total money from our side, you're correct to say it's not enough or sufficient, Chair. But unfortunately, this is what we could afford, which is why we then wrote to the National Treasury to say there's a need for us to get more funding so that we can really increase our intervention to those that are in need. DTIC, as you correctly put it, the 3.75 billion that is there, but specifically 1.2 billion that goes to the small businesses. But again, as you are saying, how do you make sure that there's alignment as they say they're gonna work with us? It's important that as we carry out the message to the intended beneficiaries, we are clear of the processes, because that's where the crux of the matter is. Because if we are coming and saying we're providing blended financing, wherein we are saying 60% is grant and 40% is loan, and 5% of that is what you add to the 40%. And DTIC comes and says, we're giving you 100% funding, and therefore there's no interest. It gets to send confusing messages as you get the intended beneficiaries thinking that, oh, it's better, at least it's interest-free, without looking at the fact that if DTIC has given you 1 million rands, it means you must return 1 million rands. Whereas the department, CIFA, says, if we are giving you 1 million rands, out of that 1 million rands, 600,000 is a grant. We don't have to pay for it. But 400,000 is what we loan to you. So that's where we're saying we really need to look at the communication that we send to the people and be able to explain in detail. But it doesn't assist, Chair, when you have SMMEs of the same caliber and that are experiencing the same challenges. When you say, I'm not going to give you interest, I'm going to charge you 40%, especially if you do not have sufficient funding, because nobody would want to pay back 1 million rands as opposed to 460,000 if it's going to be 460,000. Everybody would want to come to the one that has lower interest and lower returns. But the challenge, therefore, it puts a burden to the department and CIFA to say, can we get more funding? Which is why we are saying we really need to reach out to DTIC and find ways within the requirements that we have set for ourselves. Chairperson, allow me to say I must invite the DG or the CEO of CIFA to talk to other questions that I may not have answered. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. DG?
Through you, Chair, maybe if I can request Sifa to go first, and I'll come back, especially on the policy issues. CEO?
Okay. Mr. Macham?
Thank you, DG. Thank you, Chair. Let me start, Chair, with the question that was asked by Honorable Lont around the percentage split of the main drivers of outstanding information. In the main, Chair, the applicants will come and say, I want 2 million rands.
Sorry, Mr. Macham.
Yes, sir.
There's a person called Broadcast PC Line 3 is responsible for broadcasting
Yes, sir.
the proceeding of the meeting on the social media, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Before I'm asked to tell everybody to switch on the videos, can you please do so?
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. The main drivers of the outstanding information, Chair, number one, when an applicant comes and they say they want 2 million rands funding for their business, we also ask for the historical information. How much were you doing before the events took place? Number one. Number two, give us quotations that support the cost of these pieces of equipment that you want to buy. And in many cases, you find that the money that is wanted is far much higher than the money that is actually contained in the quotations or the pro forma invoices. And then we say, go back and look for invoices that reconcile between what you want and what is actually contained in the quotations and your pro forma invoices, or revise your numbers downwards. That's one of the main drivers, Chairperson. The other one is the financial statements that you ask for them. Some of them, they don't have updated records of their financial statements, because this thing happened maybe in the middle of their financial year. And then we say, go back, finalize these financial statements, and then we'll actually keep your application in the system. And the other one is also the tax. One of the members asked whether we give to foreign nationals. Yes, we do provide funding to naturalize South Africans, number one. Number two, they have to be in good standing with SARS, because the principle is you can't be wanting access taxpayers' money if you don't pay tax when your business is doing well. So we do consider the natural South Africans, as long as they are also in good standing with regards to their tax affairs. The other issue was, do we work together with the IDC and the NEF? Yes, Chair. We have established a war room, which is actually a structure where IDC, NEF, and CIFA sits. What we've picked up, Chairperson and honorable members, there are applicants who are double dipping, where an applicant will apply at NEF for the same business. Then they come to CIFA, apply for the same business. So we decided, now let us compare notes before we start dispersing these funds to make sure that there's no double dipping from any of the applicants. And we picked up a few through the work, what they call the war room. And we're going to contain that, because that is fraud, basically, honorable members. The minister spoke really on the issue of the adequacy of the 2 million to cover some of the expenses of the applicants. You realize, Chair, that some of the applicants suffered severe infrastructure damages. And that is where now the DTI is talking about the critical infrastructure program within their funding that has been allocated by the Treasury. So we refer those clients who are beyond our threshold to the DTIC to provide actually the support that is needed. The issue, Chair, of the 60-40 principle that was mentioned by the DG in the presentation, that if you apply for funding and we discover later that you have been paid by your insurance, but you continue to take the money, that has got an element of fraud also. Hence, we convert the grant portion into a loan, because you would have benefited either from SASRIA or your private insurer. So you can't come back to government to claim the same money that you've received from insurance. That's when we then, Chair, convert that money into what we call a loan. That is the grant portion. Chair, the issue of the marketing on the ground, we've been very much on the ground working together with the chambers of business in the both provinces, and we've approached the local radio stations, the community radio stations. We've also used the local, what we call media, in the areas that are affected. So we are aggressively using also, Chair, the webinars to speak to the associations of the affected businesses to make them aware of the available, what we call funding for their businesses. I want to look, Chair, if I've missed any question.
Can I just say on this issue of the businesses that take the grant, yes, and Chair, then later get if they're not doing it to defraud the entity, but they're doing it whilst they're waiting for the payout. How do you deal with that situation? But also, DTIC was saying that they also have a bridging finance to address the issues of cash flow challenges, whilst the businesses are waiting for insurance payout. What is your stance on that as a CIFA?
Yes, sir. Chair, we do encourage businesses to apply for bridging finance where there's pressure for them to actually start operating. Remember also, we work closely with the insurance companies. We are actually trying to ascertain and make sure, even through the war room, who has processed a claim against their insurers, so that we know when you come and apply for this funding of 2 million, if it's 2 million, or 1 million, if it is 1 million, we will put a claim of 1 million against your insurance. Then we need to have a relationship or an agreement with you as an applicant that if the claim from the insurance comes in, you will have to pay back the money that you claim from the state. Or we need to find a way then it gets converted into a loan if it's really not fraud. We don't actually immediately treat everybody as a fraudster because of that. We look at the reasons behind maybe the claims were processed concurrently, the money comes in simultaneously, then we need to sit and see how do you then pay back the money, that particularly from the side of the state, because if you double dip, you are taking the money that we would have given to another SMME in the same regard. So we do engage our clients to say, listen, let's have an arrangement if you get actually to find yourself in that situation. Yes, Chair, we do provide bridging finance, and we encourage even the ones that we funded directly that we actually insured. We didn't just give them 6 months payment grace, but we said we are also at liberty to come and approach us for bridging finance so that you get your stock and other operating requirements up and running speedily. We do have, Chair, I did mention earlier on that we do have staff on the ground. In KZN, we're in the malls last week with our regional office staff and CEDA colleagues, where we're popularizing actually this funding to all the businesses that were affected by this, what we call the violence that took place during that time, Chair. I'm not too sure, Chair, if I've left out anything, but
the 11 CFA funded, are they the only ones, or that you know there are others that you don't know that might come in a later stage and make application? Or you show that this is at 11 that is CFA funded that has been affected by the unrest?
We interact with our clients on a regular basis also to make sure that we collect the money that they owe us. So immediately when this happened, we directly contacted them and we actually encouraged them to approach us, those who are affected, and they are the ones who gave us the details. So we show that these are our clients and this is a complete list, because one of the first things they will do, they will run to us to negotiate the repayment of the loan when they are affected. But we didn't wait for them to come to us. We went out and contacted them, as we regularly contact them when we send statements for the servicing of the debt. So we did the same thing, and we certain that this is a complete list of our clients who are affected and that are funded by CFA, Chair. Thank you, Chair. But
there was a question from Honorable Moimang raising a concern about the capping to 2 million.
Yes.
And I want to link that to the issue of double dipping, because we raised a similar question to DTIC. They said double dipping with regard to the DTIC family. This is where they have a problem, but they don't have a problem if any other business can go to another entity outside the DTIC family. They don't see that as a double dipping, especially if there's a shortfall, because you're capping at 2 million, but then the person perhaps his cost is 4 million, and that person wants to go to IDC for the shortfall. Would you regard that as a double dipping? And yeah.
Chair, there's a difference between capping the shortfall. In fact, even the businesses that are insured, if there's a shortfall in the claim that the business put forward to the insurance, we are willing to cap in and cap the amount. That is the difference between what he claimed for or she claimed for and what the insurance paid up. So that is not double dipping, because that's a top up. Even in the ordinary funding of deals, if you come and say, I want to build a service station, it is 30 million, but CFA can only give you 15 million. You are at liberty to go to IDC or a commercial bank and we syndicate that loan. So we treat it in that fashion, even that one, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. If there are follow-up questions to Mr. Machamba before we go back to DG, I will allow that. Honorable Boshoff.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. It's not a follow-up. I don't know if I missed it, but I asked a question about Mpumalanga on how many businesses were affected and what the payouts were there. If I could have a response to that, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I don't know if that is yours, CEO, or is for the DG.
I may come in, the DG may bridge the gap that I could have left open.
Okay.
The study that we've done, Honorable Boshoff, didn't just look at Mpumalanga. We did a study on the impact of this violence in the main provinces, that is Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal. And when it comes to insurance and uninsured businesses, we cast the net nationally, and we didn't just limit it to what we call the provinces that were actually affected by the violence, but we said how many businesses. The study that we did basically was looking at the access to finance by these SMMEs. How many of them do they have access to banking services? How many of them have got access to credit? How many of them have access to insurance? So we're actually broadly looking at the whole what we call ecosystem of these SMMEs to ascertain how many of them are insured and actually banked and unbanked. And it's not limited to Mpumalanga. We may have to zoom into Mpumalanga, but we were casting the net for insurance nationally. But for purposes of these riots, we forecast in the main in KZN. But the terms and conditions of the fund, they are clear. They say we will be prioritizing KZN and Gauteng. We are not excluding what we call other provinces, because in our view, we thought that there may have been some sporadic events of violence in some provinces that were not actually reported. Hence, we said, let us not exclude these other provinces. But we didn't focus to actually on Mpumalanga alone. We looked broadly on the impact of insurance and uninsured business, SMMEs nationally. And also, we can provide that statistics, but if there's a need to further break it down to provincial level, we can do that work. But our focus was mainly national with regards to insurance. But access to this funding is not only limited to KZN and Gauteng. We said preference will be given to these two because they were the hardest hit provinces, but others are at liberty to also apply. Thank you. TG, if I've left something, you may come and say. Thank you.
TG, you can respond to the questions that were posed to you, and perhaps add on what the CEO was saying.
Thank you, Chair. One question that was not responded to, I think, Chair, you asked whether we have a database of these uninsured businesses. Information, especially for KZN, we're working closely with them. They've given us a database. They have around about 3,616 businesses that were affected by the violence and looting. Gauteng, we're also working with them in terms of consolidating this information. We are aware, Chair, that provinces also have instruments. In terms of Gauteng, for example, they do have a scheme which goes to 1 million. So there is that differentiation between what we are doing and what they are doing. So those people who are applying for anything that is more than 1 million, they refer them to us so that there is that clear distinction between the province and ourselves. Then the issue of the role played by the municipalities. We know that Joburg and eThekwini in particular, what they've done, they've offered those businesses that had
Are you still there, TG? TG? It's frozen now. TG? I don't know what's happening. TG is now muted. TG, can you unmute?
Yes, Chair.
Oh, we lost you.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Sorry.
Maybe you switch.
Can you hear me now?
Switch off your video. Maybe you switch off. Yeah.
Okay, check.
Okay, you can
hear me
continue.
now?
Yes.
No, thanks. Yes, apologies for that. I think the internet is not that stable. Chair, it's the issue is I was talking about the municipalities. So they've offered these businesses an opportunity for re-evaluation so that you can pay a lower rate when your business is not operating or your infrastructure is destroyed. So some of these, especially the metros, that's what they've been offering. But some municipalities are really struggling, especially those that are in rural areas. They do not offer any kind of support currently. On the issue of the National Credit Guarantee Scheme, Chair, we had engagements, especially after that period when President announced 200 billion and they were only able to offer 18 billion in terms of support to SMMEs. We had that engagement with them where they were trying to listen to us in terms of how were we able, because the support that was coming from our side was oversubscribed and we had very limited resources from our side, but they had a lot of money from their side, which was not taken up by SMMEs. I think the biggest challenge, Chair, is that the terms of this National Credit Guarantee Scheme, they were not amended. So banks were just given this guarantee scheme, but they were still given liberty to stick to their criteria, which is really very difficult for most of the small businesses. So most of them did not really benefit. So it's the same thing. The National Credit Guarantee Scheme was closed, but there were discussions because it's managed by National Treasury and the Reserve Bank with all these commercial banks. There were discussions in terms of whether this could be reopened, but if they reopen it, are they gonna change the terms? Because that's the main issue, that the terms were not changed. So banks were just operating normally. The only thing that was done was just to give them a guarantee by government that if money is not paid back, government will step in and assist in paying these loans to the commercial banks. And then we had offered, because through CIFA, we have Kula Credit Guarantee Scheme, which is really doing very well, and it's focusing on SMME, and we have a better understanding of how SMMEs work, and we do offer business development support to accompany the granting of that particular loan. So we did offer a Business Banking Association of South Africa that opportunity to work closely with us through the Kula Credit Guarantee Scheme. Then, Chair, you also raised, and I think your last point, where you raised a point which you said was made by DTIC, where they said informal businesses are our core mandate, which I think is unfortunate. We are not a department of informal businesses. We are a department of small business development, and we support even medium enterprises. We know that we don't have a lot of resources at the department, which is something that we always take up with those who allocate resources. But we are also aware that government does not have unlimited resources. So we strike a balance in terms of us pushing for more resources, but also us going outside and engaging with the private sector, trying to tell them to come on board and work with us. So that's why we have this national SMME and cooperatives funding policy that is going to go out for public comments. We'll take it out for gazetting so that we can get as many comments as possible in terms of how do we really drive the issue of supporting or providing financial support to SMEs and cooperatives, because I think if as a country we believe that 98% of formal businesses are SMMEs, there should be action that follows that. We do need to invest more in small businesses and medium enterprises. Just to clarify one more thing, Chair, that for example, under agriculture, medium businesses, those who are employing people, 250 people, those are classified as medium businesses. They still fall under our mandate. So, Chair, it's not true that we are a department of informal businesses. We are a serious department. We do.
They didn't say that. They say it's part of your core mandate. I just want to correct that.
Okay, so I hear you, Chair. Then the last one was on the issue of the business permits. Chair, I must indicate that the response from municipalities differ. Other municipalities really embrace this opportunity of deferring the payment of fees, because some they are misunderstanding the directives that were issued. The directives are not saying you must suspend business permits. We're saying you suspend the payment of fees, because we know that some municipalities, they charge informal businesses 4,500 to get a permit. That is a barrier to entry for someone who wants to start an informal. Where do you get 4,500 if you are just retrenched and you want to start an informal business? So these 4,500 really we are doing away with for now as a temporary measure under these directives. But we are working on the Businesses Act, which deals holistically with the issue of the permits and licenses, because the president transferred it to us towards the end of October last year. So we are in that process of amending so that we can standardize these issues around permits and licensing across the country. We're working closely with SALGA here. They did provide a lot of input even on the directives, so that we talk to the situation in the municipalities. We are in the process now. We've started issuing some letters, but we're issuing letters to all municipalities just to clarify this, because some are asking us questions, and we are sending those responses and just clarifying that, no, these are directives, and we are focusing on the issue of the fees, which is a barrier to entry for people who want to start informal businesses. So we are in that process, Chair. It's ongoing. I think Minister is sitting with a letter as I'm talking to you from City of Cape Town, from the mayor. We are responding to the mayor, clarifying again the issue of the directives, that we are just focusing on that component of the fees, because you still need to manage where people are located. We cannot have a free for all where people can just start a business and start their informal business anywhere in the city. Thank you, Chair. I hope I have covered all the.
And the partnership with the private sector. I know you touched the issue of the credit scheme, but generally, what role is the private sector playing in terms of partnership with yourself? Or you've not engaged?
We have engaged. I wanted to request, Chair, the CEO of CEDA to talk to the colleagues that we are speaking to in the private sector. I think they are offering some support. If you can come in, Chair, and just expand on the partnership that we have with some of.
Let me take this in your way.
Ambassador Dambo, can you please?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, the one question I want to ask is, there's a myth about 500 billion being lost. We've just heard that 200 billion of that was in guarantees. So I hope the press that's listening in corrects their own mythology, and some of the opposition leaders also correct their own mythology. Thank you very much.
I know I was cautioning you because your mic was on, because we wanted the CEDA CEO to come in on the issue of partnership with the private sector. But then I allow you because you had your hand up. CEDA? CEO?
Greetings to you, Chair. Apologies, I'm just on the road. So I stopped, so it's even getting darker, so my video is not even showing properly at this stage. But again, my greetings and to all the members, the Minister, the TG. We definitely are. We've started some conversations with HP, and they are willing to assist us with some work in Alex, and also we are working with BP, who are also coming on board. So we are still just working on finalizing what assistance they will be bringing and the value of that, and we'll be in the position to report accordingly before the end of this week. But definitely those are the partners that we are currently working with within the space. We are looking for more partnerships, and it's important that we bring more private sector partners, so that because the funding, as the Minister and the TG did mention, that is not sufficient. So the partners will then or therefore play a significant role in us moving forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I take it BP is a petroleum company and HP is a computer company. Correct?
Correct.
Oh,
Correct.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other, or can we then, if there are any follow-up questions, honorable members? Honorable Dang, I take it's your old hand.
It's my old hand.
If you can lower it, please. I take it that there are no further questions, honorable members. I will go back then to the honorable minister for closing remarks on her side. And if you can switch on your video as well, honorable minister, unless you have a network problem.
Honorable Chair, let's say we, as I said earlier, we are appreciative of the comments and the inputs that we were given by the select committee. And indeed, we'll go back and look at the other things that we need to improve on as we deliver on our mandate. Otherwise, we want to say thank you to all the members.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Thank you, DG, CEO, and the officials from the department and the entities. Thank you very much for attending the meeting and also sharing information with us with regard to the interventions that the department and its entities are making to address the challenges faced by the businesses, small businesses in particular, that were affected by the unrest, destruction of property, looting in KZN as well as Gauteng. Thank you very much. We at this stage will allow you, Minister, and the delegation to log out, as we will be now dealing with the internal matters like adoption of minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Honorable members, we will now deal with the adoption of minutes. We could not adopt the minutes because we went on until very late last Tuesday. I think we finished around after 8 in the evening. Now we have 3 sets of minutes. Can we start with the first set? And Mr. Bazia, can you please flight the minutes? Enrico? Oh, okay. If you can scroll down, please. Yes, continue, please. Yeah, slowly, but continue going down, but slowly. Okay. Are there any corrections, honorable members, on the minutes of the 19th of August? If not, can we have a mover and the seconder for the adoption of the minutes?
I move for the adoption, Chairperson.
Can we go up and check if
I was
the
present.
mover was present, or you are present? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. Can we have a seconder for the adoption of the minutes?
Thank you very much. I second Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Mushoti.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mushoti. Is there any Contrary view? Not. Can we have the second set of minutes? The minutes of the 24th. Why did I think that we have 3 sets? Because I thought that last time we had 2, so we're supposed to have 3. Is it my mistake? So it's my mistake. I don't know if we had adopted the last minute before we went for the constituents period, because we did not have a meeting after that.
We have 3 sets, Chairperson.
Yeah, because I see now this one is last week's one. But in any case,
okay.
Let's go down.
Chairperson, the other set is coming.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. Are you comfortable? Are you comfortable with that? I'm comfortable. Okay, no, that's okay. That's okay. No, that's okay.
There's another meeting taking place elsewhere.
My apologies, Chair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I fully support the minutes.
Okay,
this.
I'll take it that you are moving for the adoption, but we're still checking if there are any corrections or omissions before we formally accept the minutes.
Chairperson.
Yes, ma'am.
Honorable Mshodi.
Oh, you're moving for the adoption.
No,
I just wanted to first check Honorable Mshodi as Mr. Bazia is scrolling the minutes down if there are any corrections before we formally adopt them. Just want to give opportunity to members if there are any corrections or omissions.
Chair.
Yeah.
Mine is just to, I know I was not part of this meeting, but I make apology. Under apologies, I didn't see my name. I see only Honorable Lasman.
Oh, okay. Oh, let's correct that then.
Is that day that I told you I'm going to attend some my matters in court? I was not part.
Okay.
But I apologize.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. That will be noted. So these are long minutes. Yes, because we had a department and 2 entities. So 2 pages left. Thank you very much, Mr. Pazia. Are there any corrections, honorable members, or omissions before we adopt the minutes?
Yeah,
Yes,
Chair, just tongue in cheek, but if you defer something and you differ about something, I think that's 2 different things.
Sorry, Honorable Lund?
I think he's not part of this meeting.
I am. I'm just saying if I differ with you about something and if I defer
Okay.
something to a next meeting, it's two different things.
Oh,
Yeah, thanks, Chairperson.
what are you referring to, Honorable? Is there a particular issue on the minutes that you're referring to?
Yeah, sorry, Chair, if you look at point 5, it's actually just said tongue in cheek, it's a spell checker that needs to be done. So I can have a difference with you, difference of opinion. We can have differences over the minutes, but if you postpone it or if you put it off to a later date, then you defer it. So just check that spelling, but it's more tongue in cheek. So that your minute writer just get their tenses right.
Oh, okay. I get your point here. So you're making correction there, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay. I heard the voice of Honorable Matevula. Honorable Matevula?
It's Mama Rekhane.
Oh, sorry. Mama Rekhane?
No,
Are we
thanks,
done?
Chairperson.
No, we're still checking whether there is any mover for the adoption of the minutes.
I've moved, Chair.
No, before you move.
Just before Honorable Mama Rekhane.
Sorry.
Okay, thanks, Chairperson. On attendance,
Yeah.
I see it's like I'm Mr. Mama Rekhane.
Oh my God. Can they correct that, Committee Secretary? It's the last day of Women's Month. Can't call Mama Rekhane Mr.
I'm sorry, Chair.
Yeah.
Especially after our classes on gender relations.
Yes. Can we then formally have a mover and the second?
Oh, you are right.
With the corrections?
Chair, I move with those amendments on the minutes as a true reflection of what transpired. Thank you, Chair.
Any seconder?
I second, Chairperson. Mama
Thank you,
Rekhane.
Honorable Mama Rekhane. Any contrary view? Not. The last set of minutes, which should have been the first actually. Probably it's June minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 22nd of June.
22nd of June.
Yes. Can you scroll down? Honorable Khai was there, Honorable Muimang, Honorable Dango, Honorable Landsman, Honorable Boshoff, Honorable Lund, Honorable Protestant. Apologies, Honorable Mosudi. Yeah, and then the delegation from the stakeholders. And the staff, committee staff. Maybe you can move faster. I know it's 10 pages. Okay. Are there any corrections or omissions, honorable members? If not, can we have a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the minutes?
Landsman move, Chair.
Honorable Landsman moves. Can we have a seconder?
I will
Chair,
second, Chairperson.
Honourable Boshoff, I second the proposal of Honourable Lanston.
Thank you very much, Honorable Boshoff. Any contrary view? Not. Thank you very much. That was the last set of minutes, honorable members. Thank you very much for attending the meeting and also for your participation. Thank you very much. If there's nothing else, then I will declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Chairperson.
Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.